So in this video, I review the SketchAR app, and I'm just going to start off with a bit of a disclaimer that the app purports to be able to do more, such as being able to help you do murals or larger artworks. That could be really cool in theory. So I'm going to get to that later in the video, but I just wanted to start off by saying that the experience I share is specifically centered around that single function that it was advertised to me as, using augmented reality to learn to draw or to follow tracing steps. Today, we're going to play with SketchAR. SketchAR. I saw an ad and I thought, that looks like it's worth trying. Here's the app. Look at this. You pick a picture and it's augmented reality on your phone and you draw. So it's like a tracing guide. This could be the future of tracing or learning to sketch. It could also be horrible. Let's download this app. In-app purchases. I'd rather purchase an app, something that you could use for your art and creativity, like Jazza's Arty Games. One payment gives you unlimited access to art prompts and games with no in-app purchases or advertisements. Check it out with a link in the description. It's a different app. It's probably a better app, let's face it. SketchAR! SketchAR, learn how to draw with AR. Let's go. How much does it cost? This is worth looking at, because if it's worthwhile, if it works well and it helps, it could be worth it. Who knows? It's $46 a year or $8 a month. That's the cost of a drawing program. Again, could be worth it, could not be though. And I'm gonna dive in to tell you if I think it's worth the payment. Okay, I'm in. I've paid. Let's see what it gets me. I think a kitty cat is probably the best place to start, don't you? Yeah. Is it gonna get me to draw that realistic? I feel like I should start simple. Oh my God, what is that thing? If I stuff this one up, doesn't look that much worse than the original, so it's a good safe bet. Let's draw a Canadian Sphinx step by step. I've got two options here. I've got draw or draw with AR. We'll see what's more effective. My drawing or drawing with augmented reality. I'm gonna keep this really simple. We start off with these shapes. I feel like I'm stuffing up the shapes already. They have like very specific line curvatures and proportions. Add a central axis to the face. Mark the position of the nose. That's there. Add some axes. Add some axes. All right, I've got some axes. Where do I put the axes? Classic Jazza. We have fun here. God, I don't want the AR. No, I'm not going to rate you. I haven't even looked at... There are slightly intrusive elements I'm getting to the drawing experience by trying to involve my phone. I'm trying to keep an open mind here. It doesn't look like an awful lot of anything here. It's just like, and add these wrinkly lines. I'm like, okay, I'll just draw over my sketch, but just look really rough. Luckily, I'm drawing a Canadian Sphinx. Am I right? No offense to Canadian Sphinxes watching this video. I love this step to that step. I love it's like, finish the drawing. That's that step. Your picture is done. Congratulations, Bogger. Good job, okay. Maybe I'm doing this the wrong way, because I am not a huge fan of following step by steps. I like to follow my imagination, but maybe with augmented reality, it's gonna be very different. Oh, look at this! Do I use my hands? Look at that. I can place the cat on the picture. Next step. There's a serious delay. It's like, if this was actually on the page, it'd be moving around. I can't hold down the paper with my offhand because I have to hold this. So I am an advocate for the notion of working smarter, not harder. Now I just need it in a position where I can actually look at it. That's where I put you. Stay. This is a much more organic drawing experience. It's moving, stop moving. Are you kidding me? Is this what I get? Where are the, can you stay on the, what do you think? No, stop, get back. And I have some serious help here. I can't put my pencil. There you go. I really wanted to, and we're, nah. That didn't work. I'm really trying to give it the benefit of my doubts here, but I'm getting a lot of doubts very quickly. Oh, that was on the red line! That was on the red line! Are you kidding me? You're shrinking now? You're shrinking? Did I just get a blue screen? Has it logged me out? Buy a pro version. I just bought the pro version. There we go. That's more positioned. There we go. Okay, now we're back on track. Okay, it's definitely an awkward experience. It's all staying in place now. That's something. People watching this channel know I love virtual reality. I love gadgets. So I came in this actually expecting it to be pretty cool, but I'm finding the drawing is better when I'm not using the app. But I'm gonna stick this through. Stop moving! I'm following my original sketch. I probably should have drawn the lines for these eyes. Now, see, I need to zoom in here, so let's test this out and look at it. If I'm moving around, okay, all right. You're starting to impress me. The lack of depth perception is a huge issue here, because I keep finding myself looking at the app to know where the line goes, and I don't know where my hand or pen is, and then by the time it touches the paper, I'm often in like an awkward spot because I don't have depth perception on a 2D screen. Like my hand is flat. Whereas in reality, I just think, oh, I need to draw a line there, I'll just draw a line there. But I do think the depth perception thing is an interesting one to mention, because I do think that there might be a future where augmented reality is a useful tool for sketching, but I think that'll more be on the goggle form and you'll be able to see with depth. Like, it's hard to convey, again, on a two-dimensional video, how that feels with when I'm used to obviously two eyes and my hand drawing, but then I'm just looking at a screen. But I digress. Let's see this all the way through to the end. And then I want to take this to the next level and really apply myself to do something detailed and see how satisfying a result can be. So I really want to give this thing a chance. Oh, it's got shading. Maybe it does the shading in steps. Ooh, maybe I was too judgmental. That's unlike me. I'm just going to do this roughly, but it's giving me a general sort of, okay, shade dark-ish here. I think I should do it without the boom arm, because most people watching this probably don't have a phone holster boom arm lying around. I just have a strange obsession with boom arms. Let's bring this back to being related. I need to tape down my paper. Wake up, it's right here. Where'd you go? I'm at C. All right, our lines are loosely in the same place. Let's continue. Shading. This is incredibly uncomfortable. Oh no. No! Come back! Now I've just got a floating ghost cat on my screen. Yep, it's gone. I tell you what, by the end of this process, I'm going to be so freaking familiar with these steps that I'm going to be able to do this from memory. Maybe that's is it? It's frozen again. No! No! Wake up! Well, this is as far as it got me, which isn't bad, except that I genuinely feel like crying. But some people like a good cry, myself included. To be fair, we've got a more well-proportioned cat there than my early beginning. I think realistically, I've discovered that you just can't hold your phone and use this app. I know that's what it pitches itself to be. Augmented reality app, it's like, we'll make our own infomercial. You ready? Do you want to learn how to draw, but you struggle to find things to think of drawing, and instruction books are too thick and confusing and they're not on the actual piece of paper you're drawing on? In SketchAR, how do you pronounce this? In SketchAR, all you do is hold your phone and draw what's right in front of you. It's super easy and fun, and it's as simple as 1, 2, 3. SketchAR, available on Android and iOS. When the reality of the situation is no one would ever feel comfortable drawing like that, even people who would benefit from what the app does. However, maybe some people at home have a boom arm with a phone holster lying around and think this could be for me, in which case I'm going to push through my biases and the discomfort and the unnatural feeling of drawing without depth perception. And I'm going to find a picture I like, I'm going to draw all of the steps as they're presented and see if I can create something I'm happy with. And we'll discuss it at the end, see what our final verdict is. So I thought I'd push this whole experience and take it to the limits and do something quite challenging, which for me is realistic portraiture. To be honest, I never can seem to pull off a realistic portrait, and I thought if this very convoluted app drawing process was going to make it easier, well, maybe it has some value. Now, as I sort of experienced in the dabbling I did before, the sketching really jumped around and jittered a lot in the earlier part of the process. I think because it can only use the information that is fed into the camera for the augmented reality calculations, and a blank white piece of paper does not have much information, which is why I suspect the first few steps are really, really simple, so that it can then use that to latch onto and be a little bit more stable. And I did experience that the further into the sketch I got, the more stable it was, but still would have been completely impossible to do holding my hand, even later in the process when it did become a bit more stable. With that said, even when it was stable, the lines and the guides did randomly just jump around or change proportions very slightly, and at completely random times based on whether my hand was on camera or not. They just had a complete mind of their own. And even later on, there was one point in particular where I thought I might have been facing that freezing, crashing scenario where the whole thing just sort of disjointed and seemed to freeze and ghost into its own position, but I just waited, hoping that the calculations and the processor of the phone or whatever would catch up, and it did eventually. At some point, after a bit of messing around, it did reset and I could just carry on where I left off. But overall, it was pretty frustrating process. I'll go into detail later, but I think the main takeaway is I could make it work, but I really had to work quite hard to make it work. And I think that's the main problem I have with this thing. So after about an hour and a bit of using the SketchAR app, I have a result which, there are some qualifications which I'll get to in a moment, but an outcome I think is pretty okay.
It's breathtaking.
You're breathtaking. You're all breathtaking. Oh, we got it in there because it's Keanu Reeves. Also looks a little bit like Markiplier.
Hello everybody, my name is Markiplier!
So it turns out you can, with enough time and patience, get a decent result using that augmented reality app. But I have to qualify it with a big but. And you know how I feel about qualifying things. And the first is that I got a decent result with a very frustrating drawing experience, and that's kind of my thing. Like, that's what I do on this channel. So I've drawn with my eyes, I've drawn with reverse colors and reverse tones. I've drawn with a mouse, I've drawn with giant pole in my arms and remote control racing car. It's what I do, is make drawing and art generally and sometimes much more difficult than it needs to be to see if I can do it and try and do it. So I am weirdly uniquely qualified to use a very frustrating drawing app that is not an organic experience and get something that is okay. That's the but. Like, that's a major but, because the app needs a demographic. It needs to appeal to a certain group. And I think what they're trying to do is appeal to beginners who want to learn how to draw and have that guide. But the beginners who use the app and want the guide are just gonna be frustrated because it takes so much patience and practice to be able to circumnavigate the inconveniences around learning to draw through their app. Dude, anything else that is tried and true will teach you how to draw better than that app will teach you how to draw. So if you want to get better at drawing, just practice drawing. And if you want to get better at tracing, then practice that. But that will also teach you to draw because it's just like drawing. But this is not like drawing. Okay, so I'm just adding these few extra thoughts in at the end of the video after actually having recorded the video, just because I feel a little bit bad as to how the experience came across to you guys, when in reality I did have a cool drawing to show for it. Now, I thought I'd give the app the benefit of the doubt and look at more of their promotional material, and I could see that they show doing a lot of things with spaces and murals and actual like city locations, street locations. I actually thought this had a bit of potential, and that might be practical for some people. So I actually gave that a bit of a go in my studio a few days later as well. And I'm gonna be honest, I was really, really hopeful that this little last leg of an attempt would prove me wrong, would give the app some really good value for you guys to explore. But the reality is, even just with a simple photo, I couldn't get a steady track on my wall, which has a lot of tracking points, and it should be really easy for augmented reality to trace a perspective from. I even added a wide lens just so that it had more information to track. Still didn't seem to help. I switched over to a brick wall thinking maybe something a little textured but also more simple and easy for it to understand might help. I couldn't even get it to track. I tried the floor tracking and it started off being a maybe and ended up being a big fat no. So I don't know if, like the drawing experience, I needed to actually start copying some of the information down for it to be workable. But honestly, using this to make a mural would be a nightmare because it would be so much more work to do than just drawing, and way harder to undo and really tricky to make stick in exactly the place you want. Keeping in mind too that if it's moving like half a centimeter on paper, that's moving like 5 centimeters on a mural or a wall. I wanted to give the app the benefit of the doubt, and I felt a little bit bad as to how negative the review came across, but when I tried, it just didn't work. A glimmer of hope, of course, is I saw that they've done some work with the HoloLens, and I don't know if that conveys better, but with depth perception and maybe with hardware specifically for augmented reality, it could be really cool, but that is hardware that is not in many people's hands. So I just wanted to share my honest impressions as to where this consumer technology is right now, at least in this form, but also say don't lose hope, and I'm saying this to both the users and the developers. There is certainly a future of augmented reality and art living and coexisting peacefully and happily. This just isn't it yet, and I really look forward to the day when it is. Anyways, that's just my honest review and impression. I hope you found it at least interesting to watch, and if you were considering getting it, that you feel more informed. I hope you enjoyed watching this video, and if you did, you know what to do. Augment your reality with a daily dose of Jazza in your art and creativity by subscribing and ringing that bell so you don't miss out on a video. There are more videos over there, by the way, you might enjoy. And while you're sticking around, leave some comments for stuff you want to say in the comments section. That way you'll have commented. And until next time, I'll see you later.